I knew the job market had gotten weird when I Googled future tech careers and accidentally opened a Medium article that was clearly written by someone who outsourced the entire thing to a chatbot running on 12% battery. The headline was something like, Top Jobs of 2040, and the author photo looked like a stock image of a man who has never blinked. It made me nostalgic for old-school job titles. You know, classics. Accountant, teacher, person who bounces on mattresses to make sure they're not secretly made of concrete. Jobs that made sense. Jobs where you could explain what you did without opening a PowerPoint. Now we've got roles that sound like they were pulled from the glossary of a sci-fi tabletop game. A AI-driven, cloud-native synergy optimization architect. If someone introduced themselves with that title at a party, I'd just assume they were casting a spell and step back. But apparently these jobs are, quote, dominating the future, which is bold considering the future updates itself more often than my phone, and my phone updates so much, I'm pretty sure it's doing it out of spite. So we're going to look at 5 of these so-called future jobs, or at least the ones that existed when I started writing this. By the time we're done, who knows? Your fridge might have its own LinkedIn. Number 1, AI whisperer, because apparently machines need therapy now. Here's a fun question. When did we all agree that robots needed someone to talk to? Because that's basically what a prompt engineer is. An overly polite referee for a very confident calculator. Prompt engineering is sold as this high-tech discipline, but most of it is just the art of asking a robot, hey buddy, could you maybe not ruin my whole day right now? And somehow, that earns 6 figures, which is about the emotional value of getting an AI image generator to produce a hand that doesn't look like it was designed by a horror director on a sugar crash. Companies are also hiring AI ethicists, which sounds noble until you picture the reality. Adults following a digital toddler around saying things like, no, we do not say that. Apologize. And stop recommending that. They're basically kindergarten teachers, except the kids can accidentally access the entire internet and never need naps. Which honestly seems unfair, but someone has to keep these machines from reinventing Victorian phrenology every time they're bored, and that someone gets health insurance. Of course, once you have people talking to the robots, you need people protecting the rest of us from whatever the robots overhear. Number 2, cybersecurity specialists, the unpaid therapists of the internet. Picture this. You open your inbox and see an email claiming to be from Amazon, telling you your package has been shipped to a place you've never heard of. The font looks like it was chosen by someone wearing oven mitts. That's level 1 of what cybersecurity people deal with. The warm-up round. The stretching phase. Then it escalates. Suddenly, there are ransomware gangs with logos, merch, and probably a summer internship program. These groups operate like startups, except instead of pitching an app, they're demanding $50 million in crypto while reminding you to follow us on Twitter for updates. They have budgets bigger than small countries, which feels rude. And above them is the final boss, the nation-state hacker. These are the people who break into encrypted systems the way you or I open a bag of chips, casually, one-handed, while making noodles with the other. They do it for, quote, geopolitical strategy. But you just know at least one of them is doing it because they were bored on a Tuesday. Meanwhile, the rest of us are still using the same password we created in middle school, and yes, it still has the word dragon in it. But once the digital fires are put out, someone has to actually build the worlds we're so busy trying to protect. Number 3, AR/VR designers. Building worlds no one asked for, but everyone will live in anyway. The other day, I put on a VR headset and was immediately transported to a digital living room that looked like an IKEA showroom had melted slightly. That's the vibe of most virtual worlds right now. Beautiful in theory, existentially confusing in practice. You know something's off, but you can't quite point to which floating menu is judging you. AR and VR designers keep promising immersive experiences that will redefine the workplace, which sounds less like innovation and more like an HR-approved way of saying you'll attend 3D meetings in your pajamas while pretending your avatar isn't clipping through the conference table. Honestly, it might be an upgrade. And I love how serious everyone in this field is. They talk like they're building the next frontier of human consciousness, but what they're actually building is a slightly shinier way for people to avoid making eye contact. I respect the commitment. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if this is all we're going to do now. Slowly replace every mildly uncomfortable real-world moment with a virtual environment where we can mute each other without consequences. Which, again, solid upgrade. But even these simulated wonderlands need hardware. and someone has to build the machines that make all this possible, or at least make backflips look threatening. Number 4. Robotics engineers. The people preparing our future robot overlords. I swear, the first time I saw a Boston Dynamics robot do a backflip, I didn't think, wow, what a scientific breakthrough. I thought, so the machines will be spry. There's no practical reason for a robot to land a gymnastics routine unless the goal is to terrify anyone over the age of 60. And honestly, it's working on the rest of us too. Robotics engineers keep insisting these machines are here to help, which is exactly the kind of thing you'd say if you were quietly negotiating with something that can sprint faster than you. Meanwhile, in warehouses, you've got robots zipping past humans like they're late for a very exclusive robot brunch. The humans just stand there holding clipboards, trying not to get side-eyed by a forklift with Wi-Fi. Whenever I see interviews with the engineers, they all look proud in a slightly nervous way, like they know they've built something impressive, but are also mentally calculating how long until the robots demand PTO and a dental plan. Still, someone has to make sense of all the data these machines crank out, and that job goes to the people quietly drowning in spreadsheets while pretending the numbers aren't personally insulting. Number 5. Data analysts. The unsung heroes who pretend the numbers aren't judging us. I once opened an analytics dashboard thinking, how hard can this be? And within 30 seconds, I had triggered 3 alerts, 2 warnings, and what I'm pretty sure was a digital sigh. Data analysts live in that world every day, except they pretend it's normal. They're like fortune tellers who swapped crystal balls for spreadsheets, but somehow remain just as confused. The numbers say one thing, management says another, and the analysts sit in the middle whispering, okay, but why is Tuesday like this? No one ever has an answer, not even the numbers. I love how their job titles always sound extremely confident.
Senior Insights Specialist.
As if they aren't spending half their day arguing with a graph that refuses to stop curving downward. Sometimes the data doesn't even make sense. Sometimes it's basically saying, look, I don't know either. I'm just vibes. And every forecast they make gets immediately outdated by the next future update, which arrives with the enthusiasm of an app patch you did not ask for but must live with forever. They're basically translators for a future that keeps changing its mind mid-sentence. Which brings us back to us, staring straight ahead, pretending we understand any of this long enough to update our LinkedIn without crying. Here's the truth. All these jobs will absolutely dominate the future, unless the future decides to refresh itself again while we're in the middle of logging in. At this point, I half expect a pop-up to appear in the sky saying, new version available, restart planet to apply changes. I keep trying to understand tech trends, but every time I think I've got it, something new appears with a name that sounds like it was generated by shaking a bag of buzzwords. Last week, I tried to read an article about quantum-enhanced cloud orchestration, and by the end, I was mostly just wondering if clouds need conductors now. But maybe that's the real comfort here. Nobody actually knows what the future looks like. Not the engineers, not the analysts, not the robots practicing their backflips. We're all just confidently nodding while hoping no one asks a follow-up question. And honestly, no matter how advanced everything gets, no matter how many virtual meetings we attend, or how many robots moonwalk past us in warehouses, someone, somewhere, will still forget the Wi-Fi password. That's the one constant. The future may be wild, but at least it's relatable.